Are you ready?
With 12 seconds to go, it is good!
They think you can tell us what to do?
May throws for the end zone, caught Josh Downs, and he dropped it.
You think that you're better?
And kill for the win. TCU is undefeated still.
Break it down!
Welcome to the College Football X.
Hello, everybody. You are back for another episode of the X. It's the OSG Sports College Football Podcast, where we talk about everything going on in the crazy, insane, bizarro world known as college football. And guys, I say that for the very reason that if you watched any of the games yesterday, you saw some really strange, bizarre outcomes and some that were not expected. And I'm going to just kind of dive into the one that surprised me probably more than the rest of them.
Let me guess.
That's what happened in South Carolina, in Columbia, South Carolina, where not only did Tennessee lose, they got freaking steamrolled. 65-38. To a team that hasn't scored 6 touchdowns in the last 6 games.
That is accurate. Yes.
Yes, the Tennessee message board is probably the quietest place on earth right now.
Or it is, or everyone is listening to The Cure and they're dressed in black, and they've got Evanescence waiting as the next song on their roll of tunes. That was wow.
What I want to know is, did they go back to the river and pull that goalpost back out?
Put it back. Put it back.
We jinxed ourselves.
The poor goalpost was probably rolling over in its watery grave. I mean,
the river spit it back out.
Yeah, we don't want this.
All the Volunteers had to do was win out, and they may not have made the playoff, but there's a pretty good chance that they would have.
They were exposed. And then also obviously the injury to Hendon Hooker is what we're also waiting on with the news late when the game was out of hand. As Tennessee was trying to work their way back and make it a respectable margin. Non-contact injury for Hendon Hooker. Knees are not supposed to go east-west, and his left knee did.
I cringe when I see those kind of highlights.
And so Joe Milton III was your relief pitcher, and he's got a fastball. I will say that. He's kind of like Nuke LaLoosh right now when it comes to his connecting with receiver.
Throw it hard, just don't know the where part.
Yeah, but Spencer Rattler had a day, and 30 of 37 and I will
touchdowns.
And I will guarantee
he counted him on the sideline, which means he qualified for his degree at Oklahoma.
Man, I mean, you look at Spencer Rattler's day, and I will guarantee you, and I cannot lay claim to this. Jarrett Smith, I give Jarrett full credit, that that an NFL team will judge Spencer Rattler on what happened on Saturday. And Jarrett will be more than happy to see when the Saints take full advantage of that in their draft. So who knew Spencer Rattler had this in him? And Tennessee just got absolutely exposed in that secondary, and South Carolina was clinical at the Willie B, and it was just, it was out of hand.
Got to talk about another game with a team that still had a very, very remote outside would have had to have several cards fall in their direction way.
Yeah.
The North Carolina Tar Heels, they entered their game with Georgia Tech coming to see them. Carolina was 9-1 at the time.
Overrated. Soft. Soft 9-1.
And not only did they lose to Georgia Tech, they had a chance to win the game at the very end, but Josh Downs, who was wide open for a touchdown pass at the end of the game from Drake May, had a moment, and he didn't catch it. Georgia Tech jumps to 5-6. What was it? I want to say they're like 4-1 under Brent Key.
Give the man the job, even though I know it's going to Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, it probably is, but that's a separate conversation for probably next month's string of shows.
But I mean, North Carolina. I mean, look at this. All right, so North Carolina comes into the game ranked 13. They were 9-1 coming in. Here's their schedule: Florida A&M, App State, which they should have lost.
Yes, in a game for the ages, 66 to 64 or something like that.
63-61. Georgia State in a game they should have lost. Notre Dame, they lose by 13. Virginia Tech, at Miami, at Duke, at home against Pitt, at Virginia, at Wake, going into that Georgia Tech game.
Yeah,
that is a cupcake. That is a schedule brought to you by Hostess.
And Marty, that speaks volumes about the ACC there, doesn't it? Because those are all ACC teams.
Kind of sad. I mean, it's not as weak as everybody the SEC played this week. Austin Peay, Jesus.
Hey, flies open, man. Let's go pee.
I think I think UNT had them for homecoming.
I mean, you had
Cupcake Saturday.
This was seniors. This was senior day Saturday, homecoming Saturday, whatever. You had a lot of those teams, and that's why they were bunched up at noon Eastern for your kickoffs because of what? Alabama had Austin Peay. I know Mississippi State had one that was brought to you. I mean, shoot, we had Louisiana in a pesky one, Virginia Tech and Liberty. And I mean,
that was a game that went down to the wire, guys.
I know, and that was the scary part. I legitimately don't think Liberty has recovered from the Arkansas game. I legitimately don't. I don't think they have.
Yeah, and here's a game that I ordinarily would not call a cupcake / pushover / senior day game. Clemson versus Miami.
Under 100 yards of total offense for the University of Coral Gables. You love to see it.
Which speaks.
God, did they hire anybody from Iowa?
Brian Ferentz is your new head coach.
And it has everything to do to how bad Miami is right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bad football team. Even though they're 5-6, they haven't been competitive in pretty much anything that they've played this year.
Ohio State broke them.
Years ago, brother. I mean, just the whole idea that Miami only had 95 yards of total offense and they scored those points in the second half when Clemson was already up to 26. They were up 26-3 after 3 and won 40-10. Okay.
DJ Ukulele almost outrushed them by himself. Not only did he throw for 227 and a couple touchdowns, he ran for 89 yards and a touchdown by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Nearly outgaining the entire Miami team, who is just pathetically bad on offense.
Yeah. So let me see who Miami's last game is against. I know this is kind of teasing the B block a little bit, but I just want to see if they have a chance to be bowl eligible. Especially after those wins against Bethune-Cookman and Southern Miss to start your season. That's definitely a way to go about it. Ooh, Pitt. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so that's an interesting chance for Miami. That'll be intriguing. So carry on. I was just satisfying your curiosity.
So
okay, guys.
There's one canceled game yesterday I was kind of worried about.
Yeah.
Akron and Buffalo. 1-9 Akron at Buffalo, who's 5-5. Bowl eligibility on the line, so they're going to have to play that game.
Yeah.
Yep. At some point in time when it defrosts, which might be June, but Neverlet said they don't pick up a postponed game. Got to talk about the two nail biters that might have made both Big Ten fans and the College Football Playoff Committee a little bit nervous.
Oh, yeah.
TCU pulling a game out at the very end, and I mean the very end, against Baylor, 29-28.
Absolutely.
That fire drill, that I caught that one. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
They executed it flawlessly.
Yeah.
Sitting up, that was getting their offense off the field, getting their special teams guys on the field and their field goal kicker to drill a field goal to win the game 29-28. I really thought Baylor had that game at the very end.
Mm-hmm. But that's why you practice that no timeout drill at the end. You always do the the whatever code word that you want to give that drill so you can set it for the last second field goal. It's usually how you end a practice on a Thursday. So you set that one up. TCU nailed it. Good on them.
Amazing.
Looking like that might be one of your playoff teams there. The Horned Frogs undefeated 11-0. Everything's shaping up nicely for them. The other nail biter in the Big Ten, Michigan also needing a game-winning field goal to beat the Fighting Illini of Illinois.
When was the last time we said that sentence?
Illinois coming into the game on like a 2 or 3 game losing streak.
Hey, Bird.
And Michigan tried to not win that game, but they somehow managed to pull it out. But that was an unimpressive game, to say the least.
A little help from the officiating. Bert, I don't know if you caught the post-game press conferences, but Illinois' head coach was less than enthused and is probably going to be getting a fine.
He's gonna be getting a FedEx envelope from the league office with a nice piece of paper in it saying, "Please submit check to the following address."
He might not get that. The last FedEx delivery I had went somewhere else, and I'm still trying to find it. They're not going to be a sponsor.
No. No.
And Marty, your Ohio State Buckeyes had a tough time with Maryland.
Yeah, that was way too close for comfort. I'm wondering what's wrong with Trayvon Henderson. He's not hitting the right holes. I don't know. I know he's dinged up. He ended the game in a walking boot. And then Dallin Hayden came in. I mean, he came in strong in the second half. He finished with about 147 yards and 3 TDs.
Huge.
He started the year as our 4th running back. He didn't even come to school early because he saw how stacked the room was. But like the injuries have taken him from 4th to. There's people debating whether he should start since he's the healthiest running back that's got a scholarship. After him, you got Chip Trainum, who was a running back in Arizona, then transferred to be a linebacker at Ohio State. And about 4 games ago, when they saw how thin everything was, they brought him back in to the running back room just for added depth. After that, we have Xavier Johnson, who's been, for a guy that's a former walk-on wide receiver, he's been getting some play the last 2 games, tackling on special teams, and then he had 1 carry for 70 yards last week.
We need you here. We need you here. We need you here. Go out here. Go. You're not done.
He's the X factor, and I'd give him a little bit more play.
Just ask Kirby Smart how important it is to have depth in that running back room, because Georgia rolls out 4 guys every week.
Yeah.
I know the year Nick Chubb came out, they got Nick Chubb. They had 3 running backs drafted?
Yeah. They don't mess
The
around.
whole room.
Yeah, it's like you, and you. Okay, next wave. Yeah, fire away, change. You're good to go.
Georgia's running back room's like Ohio State wide receiver room. Oh, the best receiver in the nation's not playing this year. Okay, we'll just get a new best receiver in the nation.
Like your average Scooby-Doo chase sequence in the hallway. It's like a door opens up, you run across, and they just keep running from room to room. That's what you get with those 2 positions.
Yeah, the Bulldogs had a tough time up in Kentucky on a really cold, raw kind of an afternoon. They ground out a win over the Wildcats 16-6. And the lead back of their running backs, Kenny McIntosh, 19 carries, 143 yards for the Bulldogs. But like everybody else that we've talked about here, it was a pretty not impressive win.
No, but what this does is it gives Kirby Smart fuel for Monday through Friday or Sunday through Friday. If you guys thought you were the best and you were reading your press clippings and this and that, and you only beat Kentucky by 10, and Will Levis, had more passing yards than Stetson Bennett, all of those talking cliches that you will get from a coach about how you guys still have stuff to work on. Just because you're the top ranked team in the country doesn't mean ish. And that's your example as to why it'll happen after a 10-point win.
Some other games late on Saturday that had some impact on the way the bowl games are going to kind of shake out here as we get toward the end of the season. The Oregon Ducks bounced back with a 20-17 win over the Utah Utes in Oregon. However, Oregon's season kind of went down the drain last week after losing to Washington. Still an impressive win from the Duckies.
Amazing what happens when Bo Nix has a coach that leaves him alone and doesn't yell at him all the time and offends his dad. Strange how that works.
Still threw a pick. Bo Nick's gonna Bo Nick's.
He is. Yeah. We still have. I mean, short of the game early in the year against Georgia, we have not seen bad Bo Nix since, and I'm still waiting for that moment when it happens. Does it happen in Apple Cup? That is the question against a very, very frustrating Oregon State team. I think that might be the chance to see bad Bo Nix pop his head up at an opportune moment.
And that will be the highest stress situation he's had for the year.
Yeah.
Well, but at the same time, you're talking about 21, 22-year-old kids, and sometimes they grow out of their problems that they had when they were 18, 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That may be the case here.
Change of scenery always does good.
Yeah.
Just saying. And the other Pac-12 After Dark, sorry, I went Pac-10. The Pac-12 After Dark feature game last night, USC and UCLA. The game ended with a score about what I thought it might be. USC with a win 48-45 in front of some 70,000 people in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, both teams just scored again, by the way. That game was half past bananas, but not necessarily a surprise that you had a game like that. And you knew that something like that was going to go down with this one, and it reminds you of all of the games that we used to see when we were growing up. All the games that were on ABC, and the late kick on a Saturday afternoon or leading into a primetime game at the Rose Bowl. The colors in there are iconic, and the teams are iconic. And I'm not going to use the cliche that college football is better when these two teams are doing well, but just to have a game that meant something with these two teams, where the over, the over was taken care of 21-20 at the half after three quarters. That's safe to say. I mean, because you had a 28-point fourth quarter, but no. Absolute craziness with both of these two, but UCLA did the rest of the world no favors if they didn't want to see a Pac-10 12-14 team in the CFP.
I think USC still has a shot of sneaking in there, although that defense is just not good.
They better go for it now before they get into the Big Ten.
Yeah, you're talking like the Pac-12 outside maybe Oregon on defense. You're talking Big 12 level from like 2015, where everybody played matador defense.
Yeah.
Waving their towels as the receivers went flying by. USC put up some huge numbers in that game. Another game I want to talk about here as we kind of plow through the results from this past weekend, and one that just made me laugh when I saw it. Vanderbilt gets their second SEC win in a row, taking down the Florida Gators at home for the first time ever.
There's somebody on this pod that might really like that.
I was watching at various tailgates on Saturday, and yes, there was universal laughter breaking out amongst the stars. It was Billy Napier's honeymoon. No, it's more like this one. More like this. That's what you get. That's what you get with that one. I mean, Billy Napier's honeymoon is officially over. You lose to Vanderbilt, honeymoon is gone. And good for Clark Lee. I mean, good for Clark Lee and Vanderbilt. You've won 2 in a row. Yeah, I know you've got Tennessee next week to try to get to bowl eligibility, but I think that if there are teams that are 5-7 and no one's bowl eligible at 6-6, their APR would probably blow everybody else's out of the water to get them into one of those pre-Christmas bowls. But good for Clark Lee. I mean, last week after they won, he's breaking down in the post-game interview. This week, after beating Florida, you now have that sense of belief of, that you're building something there. And the fact that you happen to do it at home, where a lot of folks traveled from South Georgia and the other state to work their way up to Nashville to go watch this game, and they watched their team lose. Oh, there got to be some mad folks heading home, where tickets, I'm sure, were readily available and very, very inexpensive, Marty.
Oof. Speaking of empty stadiums, Marty, did you see what Kyle Field looked like in College Station, Texas this week?
A local media member, who I won't give their name out, but they were talking about when they announced the attendance as 90,000. They said they mentioned that there was more than just a quiet laughter in the press box, that people were just out and out laughing out loud, literally, and just losing their mind when they announced 90,000 for that crowd.
Oh yeah, after the band performance at the half, I saw the photo that was released early third quarter, and the place was empty. Two letters, capital M, capital T. The place was empty.
Middle Tennessee.
Unannounced was the 75,000 people who came dressed up as empty chairs.
Oh, it's so bad.
They printed 90,000 tickets, maybe.
Well, and the thing is that
they probably printed 100,000 tickets.
well then yeah, and so here's the question: was it Miss Reveille that basically told everybody that it was okay to leave? Because the way it works on campus, if Reveille goes into a classroom and she wants to walk out of the classroom and leave, class is over. I mean, that is a bylaw on campus. Reveille is done with a class. She walks out, class is over. Everybody can go. Did that happen at Kyle Field? Did she leave at halftime, and then that was the sign for everybody to sit there and get up and leave?
You would explain it.
UMass scored.
Yeah, there's a taking a dump on the field joke there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
It might not have been Reveille that did it.
A&M did get the win. They won 20-3, but it's UMass playing what's supposed to be a decent SEC team, and they only could muster 20 points.
Decent.
Dude.
Oh, you got me choking up there for a second about ATM, man. About a decent team.
I mean, do you really think that somebody's going to actually convince Jimbo Fisher that he's a shitty offensive coordinator finally?
Well, it's going to be one of two things. Either the firm is going to find a way to find that $86 million. And by the way, Shell did announce that they had record profits last quarter of $15 billion.
Yeah, as did most oil companies, but that's a separate conversation.
Yeah, that's profit.
Hashtag gouging.
Yes, that's gouging down here. That's on at 2:50 in the morning on Wednesdays. Yeah, economics down here. But if the firm finds the $86 million, are they that fed up with Jimbo to where you would have to beat LSU next week
Mm-hmm.
to get to 4-8?
way.
Is that it's
No, to get to 5-7.
If you'd have to beat LSU to get to 5-7 next week, and
Still not bowl eligible.
no, and that's the thing. And the APR is certainly not going to put you to the front of the line. Vanderbilt will be way ahead of you, but that's the key here. Is the firm going to be mad enough to want to sit there and just like, look, we're just going to pay him the $86 million, he can get out, or is this that year where in the off season everybody sits there and goes, you've got to have to fire some assistants and you can't do play calling. And so the assistants go, Jimbo gets one more year. And if it's still the same, then he goes. That's the big question.
I think that's more likely the scenario.
With them affording to pay him out, do they get refunds from the players that got suspended?
Oh, no, wouldn't be.
Okay. I wasn't sure because, that could raise a couple million.
Oh, no.
itself.
Yeah. I mean, those players, they probably sat there and went with direct wire transfer, and they probably sat there and exited the funds as quickly as possible. So you got to find those doleros. You got to find those dollars, man. Long gone, brother.
Another one of this year's Cinderella teams, the Kansas Jayhawks. They invited in the Texas Longhorns this week. It did not go well. 55-14 Texas with a win. But Kansas is still bowl eligible. They've won 6 games this season. So there's that.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not just a basketball school anymore.
Leipold.
Really, those kind of are the highlight games this week. We've covered some of the big ones, and there's going to be a lot to talk about because when we come back in the second half of the show, we're going to talk about playoff rankings. Playoffs. Yes, playoffs.
And Sam Pittman getting his cold beer.
We're going to talk about that, a new all-time leading rusher in college football, and a look ahead to the post-Thanksgiving week barrel of fun. All that more when we return for the second half of the college football X. You are listening to the X on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
Please like and subscribe.
Hey, I'm Willie Nelson.
Thousands of veterans are living on our streets right now where they're being robbed, beaten, and even killed. And if this happened behind enemy lines, we'd be outraged. So please help us get our veterans into safe, permanent housing. Donate any amount at veteransmatter.org. Or you can text VETS to 41444. They fought for us, and now we fight for them. Veterans Matter.
Warning. Orthopedic surgeons are seeing an increase in overuse injuries when young athletes perform the same repetitive stressful motions over and over. Pitching, tennis, weight training, even long swimming workouts can cause overuse trauma that may require surgery. If your kids play and train hard, visit orthoinfo.org or stopsportsinjuries.org. A message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons and the American Orthopedic Society for Sports Medicine.
Hey, thanks for sticking around, everybody. You have made it to the second half of the X. This is the College Football X on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network, where we talk college football. And we're down to 1 week left in the regular season, guys.
First season, I know.
And we don't have the AP poll just yet as we record this show, nor do we know the college football playoff rankings, in part because ESPN has to make a production out of it.
True.
But I suspect we're going to see a little shakeup this week with Tennessee kind of seeing their hopes of that away in the humid South Carolina air, with Michigan barely hanging on to beat Illinois. At this point, I think we're looking at seeing Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, TCU 3, and Michigan 4.
Yeah.
You see it kind of playing out the same way?
Yeah, I think so. Marty, what do you think?
I won't say the team up north's name. I think it's. Have they said what's wrong with the running back yet? Because that's probably going to affect the rankings.
Oh no, they have not said what's up for him.
Supposedly some sort of damage to his knee, but Harbaugh swears he's going to be ready to roll come Saturday.
Well, you have to say that. You can't sit there and say, yeah, my leading rusher, who we depend on a lot, he's not going to play in our big rivalry game. No, you can't.
But other than that, we're okay.
Yeah. No, this is the week with the coaches where it's Kevin Bacon on the sidewalk at the end of Animal House. Literally. That is Jim Harbaugh. Stay calm, all is well. Literally, you're going to have so many coaches that are going to have so many questions heading into their rivalry games, and you just may as well just run that clip.
Yeah.
That's all.
Ohio State's in the same boat where both their running backs finished the last two games with walking boots as they left the stadium.
Mm-hmm. But they're cool. Everything's cool. We're good. No worries.
Yeah.
It's safe to say the winner of that game on Saturday probably is in the college football playoff, and the loser's out.
Yeah. I mean, because
Depends what kind of chaos happens.
True.
I know the Big Ten's not the SEC where they have the quality loss.
Just ask.
Well, if you look at the team that Marty doesn't want to mention by the name of Michigan, their biggest win so far heading into this game is a victory over Penn State earlier this season. Penn State in the top 10, but that's pretty much the only ranked team they've played.
Again, that's your schedule makers in the B1G, so you got to talk to them about that. I mean, yeah. So, and I know that when we mention that word, so what I'm going to do, I know that when you mentioned that word, that specific state of the union, that everything in
north till you smell it, then west till you step in it.
There you go. I mean, because I know that Marty's headset, the way that it works, that for those watching the video version, everything that comes out of our collective mouths is great. And then all of a sudden, when that word pops up, everything just kind of goes fuzzy in his headset. So where it's like there was a word there that Marty couldn't quite understand. Exactly. So I get it. I mean, right now it's Georgia.
Really big link butts up against Chicago.
You said butts up.
Illinois, part of Wisconsin.
True. Yes. It's going to be Georgia. I mean, unless something seismic happens with clean old-fashioned hate, and
not this year.
Yeah, something happens there. The number 2 versus number 3 in the CFP with Marty and the team to the north. That that one of those is going to end up being number 2. The other one's probably going to end up being number 5. TCU, they win. They're probably going to stay at number 4. Then with Tennessee losing, I think that opens up the door for LSU. So until LSU works their way into the SEC championship game, remember LSU can put ATM's season out of its collective misery. I think LSU goes up a notch with Tennessee moving down one. So that's where I think the chaos lies at the moment, with USC kind of creeping right there at the edge.
But I really think that team up north is a clear number 2. I'll just leave that there.
Oh, no.
See, this is where we need the house band. This is the week where we need the house band to help Marty out with these one-liners.
I don't know if you heard at the end of the game, but they started singing. There's a song called "We Don't Give a Damn" for the whole state of Michigan, and you could hear it at Maryland Stadium during the broadcast.
That's the fun part of college football, though. I mean, and kudos to the audio guy in the truck to have the foreknowledge of, oh, that's happening. Let it work its way up a little bit. Let it kind of be a part of the fabric of the Nat sound that's there. I give them a thumbs up from the production perspective.
Give me a little more background audio here, guys.
At the end of the game, he didn't have to bump it up. It was pretty loud.
Nice. Excellent.
My brother texted me during the game. He and my sister-in-law were there, and he's like, "Oh, you're starting to hear Michigan songs."
So is it safe to say that game next week is going to be the game of the century this week, this month, this year?
Absolutely, it's going to be the
Part 2.
Yeah, it's going to be the game of the century this week. Absolutely.
Fox and ESPN are both doing their college shows there.
As well they should. And by the way, kudos to the 4-letter for doing their pregame show from the Brawl of the Wild. You know, it was
absolutely
good on them for going someplace new. And they've done that a couple times this year. But going to Bozeman, Montana, where Kirk Herbstreit looked like, an extra on Yellowstone. And
they all look like popsicles.
Yeah, pretty much. And those air engine heaters that you have on the sidelines, those were probably exported in large numbers, and I just hope they didn't blow any fuses from all of the electricity that they were trying to garner to keep everybody.
Solid guest picker as well.
Who was the guest picker?
Nick Faldo.
Huh?
With no gloves.
He lives there. So that instead of doing Kevin Costner or anybody from Yellowstone, you bring in Nick Faldo.
That would have been crossing the network streams.
Faldo.
I guess Faldo does too.
Yeah, I mean Faldo officially retired after this season, so he's like a free agent. But yeah, he lives there, and that's why they brought him in. And the 4-letter got lighted up on the media social for that selection. They couldn't do it. Yes. I mean, you didn't bring in Costner. You brought in Nick Faldo.
No. Are you saying that I was being facetious with my compliment? I did a straight face.
No.
Maybe Tin Cup wasn't available.
Well, get somebody from the show. I mean,
I had one of the Buffaloes that was a background extra.
Yeah. I mean, just somebody who's in there for season 5. There's plenty of cast members to play with. I mean, just bring them all in. What does it matter? I mean, just bring Cole Hauser. Bring him in. If you can't get Costner, get Cole Hauser. Somebody like that can actually represent, I don't know, one of the top-rated series in television that's based in Montana, where the Kevin Costner character is playing the role of the current governor. No.
Never seen it.
Nope, can't do that. I haven't either. I just read a lot about it. Shows up.
Never seen it. Guys, got another storyline to talk about, something that Marty brought to our attention here this morning. We have a new all-time leading rusher in college football, don't we?
Jaleel McLaughlin. Man, I just choked that.
Jaleel McLaughlin. And we actually did the math while Marty's trying to get his pipes back. We did the math. 2 years at Notre Dame College, 3 seasons at Youngstown State. What was the number that you had on Ron Dane, Marty?
Ron Dane.
His
total was 6,397 yards.
Okay, so Jaleel McLaughlin at Notre Dame College and currently at Youngstown State is north of 8,000 yards total, 8,161 in his college. So he has not been a bad running back at both locations and set the record. Youngstown State.
Is Notre Dame College like the JV team for the university?
No.
No, they're they're a smaller Ohio college, and what makes it more impressive is the 2020 season being so short.
Mm-hmm.
They played in summer that year for the division.
Did they do a 6-game?
Yeah, it was very short. He only had like 697 yards.
Only.
Yeah. Stuck with
but,
it.
The props to Youngstown. Yesterday, they're on the bubble. The selection show for 1AA is going on as we're recording this. But, going into that game, they were down. They scored 21 points in the fourth quarter and squeaked out a 28-21 victory over the Salukis. I got lucky enough to pop that on my phone as my wife and I were driving home, and I was just like, oh my God. And he scored the winning touchdown, which is just, perfect. I hope that's not his last carry as a college football player, but it would be nice to see them, they've got a chance for one of the 4 at-large berths in the 1AA playoffs. It'd be nice to see him get a couple more carries.
Would be kind of cool. I would love to see him push closer to 9,000 yards, get on a run, play 3 or 4 games, rack up another 800 yards or so.
Yeah,
amazing. Love seeing the small. I wish he get a little bit more credit for that. I mean, it's crazy. We had to look up as much as we had to look up during the break to actually get his total yards.
Yeah, to get the math.
Yeah, because you probably wouldn't have seen that if you had just kind of read ESPN.com or The Athletic or something like that.
Undersized back, but I mean, wow.
Productive. Doesn't matter how big you are as long as you produce.
Check.
Want to see him in the XFL supplemental draft?
Oh, there. Well, why don't you make a call your boy Stoops up? Hey, Bob, I got a running back for you.
I did talk to him at the. They have as a season ticket holder for the XFL, they have a Chalk Talk event, and I wasn't hot on him being the coach until after that event. He actually, they had it in a small room over at Texas Live. He walked in the room. He didn't have a bunch of people around him. He walked himself up to everybody's table, started BSing with them, talked to me about Youngstown a little bit.
There you go.
Super nice guy.
Yeah, if you're talking XFL, you're probably not talking big entourages. I'm just saying.
Still, he's in Texas, in North Texas, as an Oklahoma former coach who's got some a little bit behind him.
5'9", 183 tailback. Third team All-American. Yeah, third team All-America in 2021, and I imagine that those accolades are going to grow this. Yeah, Jaleel McLaughlin.
Yeah. And that's in the Missouri Valley Conference regularly sends 3 teams to the playoffs every year. So it's not like he's playing cupcake teams. He's playing North Dakota State every year.
Yeah. 1,588 yards on 227. So that's 7 yards of rush in 1AA.
That's pretty good. It doesn't matter what level you're playing, and that's pretty good.
Yes, it is. True.
Guys, we're heading into the holiday season. Thanksgiving is upon us, and college football does not rest when it comes to Thanksgiving week. Thanksgiving night, we've got the Egg Bowl, Mississippi State at Ole Miss. State coming off a huge win in their senior day game. Ole Miss ran into the buzzsaw known as KJ Jefferson this past week. Care to guess as to who might win this game?
The over.
I'll take the over on that one.
I think that Will Rogers has thrown for just under 3,500 yards this year. KJ Jefferson really showed that the defense has issues, and I for Ole Miss, and I'm just looking at Dart versus Rogers. Take the over. That's what I'm saying. It probably ends up being Ole Miss, and it's probably going to be like a 10-point game. It'll go to double digits late because of some junk score, but I've got to go with Ole Miss at home in that one.
On Friday, a couple good matchups. Some of them featuring rivalry games. The battle in North Carolina, NC State at North Carolina.
I'm sorry. Sorry about that one.
The battle for ACC mediocrity, I suppose, ensues.
Yes. North Carolina State loses. North Carolina loses.
Yeah.
Wow, the entire state loses.
Yeah. That's a 3:30 kick on ABC, man. So choose your games wisely. Yeah, you got Arizona State and Arizona at 3:00.
Yeah, Baylor, Texas, where it's cheaper to go to the game than to pay for cable and watch it.
Wow. Holy ish. You're not kidding. Secondary.
Currently, as we record this, $4.
Holy, that's like negative numbers on. They're giving
As a
away
reference,
tickets.
I like to pick a MAC school to say go see this game because it's affordable. Toledo and Western Michigan, 1-7 and 4 in Western Michigan, 4-7 is $5.
Well, I mean, did you guys see the scenes in Mount Pleasant this past week with Eastern and Western playing in your Maction midweek game, where you had 6-foot snow drifts in Mount Pleasant or in Kalamazoo for that one? I mean, that was crazy. What was the other one that I was?
Surely it was the primetime game on Friday night on ABC. Florida at Florida State. Florida coming off an embarrassing loss to Vanderbilt, and Florida State has played pretty good football here the last few weeks.
La. I'm not listening.
Just not to pick on Texas too much, but the only other game that is cheaper than that to go see is New Mexico State and Liberty for $3.
I just saw that. Oh my God.
That's awesome. Oh man. That's just, I mean, yeah, I mean, you can really have an entertaining weekend. You can have an entertaining Thanksgiving weekend after your L-tryptophan is sunk in. And you can spend, for a family of 4, you can spend $20 and go see a college football game. There you go.
Another $4 game. Pittsburgh at Miami.
Oh yeah, you got to.
Might be worth it for the trip.
You got to give me money for that one, brother. That's just, oh man, that's awful. That is just, that's not good.
An expensive game on Saturday, however, and a pretty interesting matchup with the time still to be determined, which is weird, less than a week out. Oregon at Oregon State. Both teams are pretty decent this year.
Yeah, Apple Cup, I think.
$63 if you want to get into Reser Stadium.
I think you could see bad bone mix in that one. I really do. I think Oregon State could drive them crazy at Reser, and that's going to be a tight one. That one's going to be a fun one. I'm really looking forward to that one.
There's only one game that matters to me.
Oh yeah, no question.
John, I have to offer up your insight here. It's Iron Bowl time.
Your get-in price, Michigan and Ohio State, is $294.
And that just probably is going up today.
Oh yeah, that's your game of the century this week.
Yeah,
of course it's going up.
All right, so what insight are you hunting for Iron Bowl, which is going to be the 3:30 game on CBS?
Yeah, looking for a little insight there as you have that Auburn connection.
Auburn fans just want a good effort. They know that they're going to get smoked. Just be competitive, put up a good fight. You've seen in 2.5 weeks the difference that someone who actually invests in the emotions of his players and what the players mean to a program. I think you've seen the difference. Do I think Cadillac gets the full-time gig? No. For me, it's probably Mike Grimes, Jamie Chadwell, because considering you just gave $15 million to Brian Harsin to not have the door hit him on the way out, you're probably going to have to be a little more economically feasible, unless Jimmy Rain really wants to cut a big check. There, honestly, in talking to everybody after the game on the weekend, it's like, look, Alabama's the superior team. We know that. So just put up a good fight, and they love what Cadillac Williams has brought, and Zach Etheridge and Trevon Reed and all the Auburn guys. They love what they've brought back to the program in an emotional sense in a couple of weeks. So yeah, good effort. Just put up a good fight, and we'll be cool.
Traditional battle here that I have some interest in. I'm curious to see how it plays out because it may end up having some impact on the college football playoff. Notre Dame travels to Los Angeles to take on USC in a game that probably is going to be high scoring. The get in the door price for that one, by the way, $144 in case you're keeping track.
Notre Dame just has a history of crapping their pants in big games.
Yeah, I gotta go with USC, trying to keep their thoughts available to sneak in as Team 4. So that's I got USC in that one. Yeah.
I'll take the Big Ten school on that one.
Yeah, speaking of teams hoping some luck falls their way, a once defeated Clemson Tiger team hosts the University of South Carolina in the Battle of South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean,
All of Carolina's
The
at war.
excitement is palpable.
I mean, if you think about what happened on the weekend with South Carolina at the fairgrounds with their big win over Tennessee, trying to carry that momentum into the game in Death Valley against Clemson, I wonder. I mean, you still look at Clemson and the quarterback issues, and they're trying to figure out, is it DJU, is it somebody else? What are you looking at from Clemson here? Can South Carolina basically turn it into PS4 or PS5 or whatever version of Nintendo we have these days and try to do the same thing to Clemson that they did to Tennessee? That might be the only way for me that I think South Carolina gets the Duke on the road.
Yeah, it's going to be hard getting after such a game, like being able to maintain that.
Yep.
Against that level of competition, especially.
Absolutely.
But I hate Dallas, so.
One game I've got to mention, another rivalry game affecting my home team, the Georgia Southern Eagles, as we host the Appalachian State Mountaineers. Win and we have a bowl berth possibility. Lose and it's a season over. Still been a good season for Georgia Southern. They've improved in a lot of areas. They're a better team than they were at this point last year by a large margin. And App State's been a little bit of a disappointment this year. They haven't played quite as well as one would have expected after that first week, but they're App State, so they're always going to be tough.
Yeah. I think that you look at the Fun Belt across the board, and you have teams that have games that they should win that are a part of this. Troy is at Ark State. That should get Troy to double-digit wins. You've got Georgia State, who had a lead at James Madison, massive lead at the half, and blew it. That blew their bowl eligibility, but they've got to go to Marshall. So if Marshall gets the win, they're 8-win. South Alabama's hosting Old Dominion. South Alabama, they get the win, they go to double digits, and so I think that this is your game adds to the pre-Christmas nature of the bowl picture, and when it tries to figure out who's going where with all of the games that we watch as we're wrapping Christmas presents and trying to feverishly buy the ones we forgot.
And we're trying to digest all the food that we ate over the previous 3 days.
Right. You got turkey sandwich? You got any good mayo? You got some Dukes or some Burtman's mustard to go with it? That's the way to go. You got Burtman's mustard on turkey sandwich.
Little Dukes mayo, some salt. You're in business.
There you
go.
A
little cranberry on there, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Guys, what do you say we put a wrap on things here this week?
Dash Cam. What's Dash Cam up to?
Dash is right here.
Yeah, there he is.
He hasn't pulled an Elvis and left the building yet.
He's already did that once in the commercial break.
Yes. When we come back and join everybody again next week on next week's episode, we're going to know who's won most of their regular seasons. We're going to preview conference championship play, and we're going to have a pretty good idea who's going to make it in the playoffs.
Yes.
In the meantime, thanks for sticking around as we blathered on for quite a while a little bit here about college football, but hopefully we helped educate you in some sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
As Marty eagerly anticipates his upcoming week. I want to know if he goes through the whole week without using the letter M.
Oh, I'm sure he will. I'm sure that it'll be asterisk ICHGAN. Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Does it mean we would have to call you Artie?
I won't be able to play my music in the morning at work like I normally do because there'll be a lot of offensive songs about that school up north. For those that want to check it out, the Dead Schembecklers is a band that does punk and rock covers of anti-School Up North's.
Because of course they
Eagles. Do. Dead Schembecklers. Oh my God.
I love it.
You need to check them out because
I
they're
might have
hysterical.
to go look them up on YouTube just so I have that music to take us out at the end of the show.
You're going to lose it when you hear them. And credit to them, when Michigan lost their coach, they actually performed a benefit for his charity. What was that, 3 years ago or 4 years ago when it happened right before the game?
Mm-hmm.
And they still lost. But don't want to give too much credit.
They still lost.
Who are we to judge? Yeah. All right. For the OSG sports team, I am OSG Phil. He is OSG Nelson, and Brother Marty. We are part of the online sports guys community. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. And hopefully you'll have a great Turkey Day, everyone, and catch us again next week when we have more to college football to talk about. Bye-bye.
Please like and subscribe.
You lost to Appalachian State. We know, your program ain't that great. You suck, there's nothing to debate. You lost to Appalachian State. You suck, you lost to Appalachian State.